Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Poetry of Justice show with Jackie Ray Phillips and the gorgeous Lori G, the Benefactor. How are you doing tonight, beautiful?
I am doing well tonight.
Awesome sauce. Well, Lori, we are in for an absolute beyond treat tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We have a show that we have so meticulously titled Black Brilliance. Right. Not excellence, brilliance. I think I'm going to shut up right now and take the ball to you, Lord G.
Yes, tonight it's just packed with knowledge and information and empowerment. And it is about brilliance, right? It's about the brilliance that each and every one of us carries inside of ourselves, but the courage that it takes to share that and to lift that up. And we are blessed with an incredible panel that's going to help us on that journey. And so I'd like to start off by introducing them, and then I'm going to ask each one of them to tell you a little bit about themselves. And we're going to start with a friend of the POJ show and family member, my beautiful niece, Miko Phillips.
Hello, everyone. My name is Miko Phillips. I'm going to introduce myself, my background. Okay. Let's see. I have to consider myself, I guess, an educator. I'm an alum of USC. One of my degrees was African American Studies, so very in depth with the work. Love it all, especially the times we're in today, where at some point no one's going to know about Black history. So I'm glad I took the opportunity at that institution to really enrich myself. My graduate degree is from LMU, a master's in education. I am a lifelong educator. I was a special education teacher for 5 years, and now currently I work in corporate education doing instructional design within the cannabis industry.
Well, welcome.
Amen.
Nice. To have you. And we have Mr. Ralph Softly joining us, one of our newest friends.
Yeah,
welcome.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. My name is Ralph Softly. A little bit about myself. I'm the owner of TravelSoftly.com, an online travel agency. I'm also into leadership and basically mindset and human potential. Those are the things that really, and then I've come from a long family of educators.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
We're very happy you're here. And we also have Mr. Agin Shaheed joining us.
Hi, I'm Agin Shaheed. I originally grew up in Los Angeles. I currently live in San Diego for a number of years, so I've been there longer than Los Angeles. But like Ralph, I come from a family of educators, 10 generation of educators, 6 on the Black side, 4 on the white side. And my work, I was in the U.S. Navy. I was the special assistant to the Commodore of the U.S. Pacific Fleet for Race and Human Relations. And then germane to our topic, I recently retired from San Diego Unified Schools, 33 years, but for 18 years, I was over the Race and Human Relations program for the school district there, responsible for culturally relevant instructional strategies and content, and just holding the line to make sure that teachers included in their curriculum what I call accurate information about the contributions of Black folks and others. Currently, I'm with the LA South Chamber of Commerce. I'm the education director. And for a while, I was business partners and traveled with world heavyweight champ Muhammad Ali. And we took products to the Middle East and West Africa using Black expertise across America.
Holy cow.
As I said, power panel tonight, power panel. And so before we jump in and get started, I just have this one question that I'd like to ask every member. So we've entitled the show Black Brilliance, right? When you hear that phrase, what do you think of personally? What comes to mind when you hear Black Brilliance?
What I hear is when I was a little child, my father, who got his PhD from University of Iowa, he always told me, I'm not going to teach you what to think. I'm going to teach you how to think. And with that being said, it's just a lifelong journey. He's passed on, but it's just the always trying to think better and be better. because I've read a couple of things. Forgot who said it. I think it was Earl Nightingale. And I just say this, and it just rings true. 2% of the people think. 3% of the people think they think. And 95% of the people would rather die than think.
Wow.
And then another one, and they said if most people said what was on their mind, they'd be speechless. So with that being said, I've always just tried to focus on that, because I know once you have the correct mindset, you can do anything.
That's very true.
That's my mentor, ladies and gentlemen.
Agin, what do you think?
Well, for me, I think about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad with the Nation of Islam. He offered that in terms of social development, the deepest diamonds are found in the deepest part of the mud, and all they really need is some polishing up. So programs like this, education like what covers this group of people, is the polishing. So I always remind people, educators, that Thomas Jefferson spoke once and said before his constituency, education should only be for the wealthy. From time to time, we'll rake through the rubble and bring some in. So this is what we've been working through, particularly in this country, coming out of the rubble that we've been made to be rubbleized. And so we have to shine ourselves up.
I agree. No, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess to expand upon that, to me, education means the world, honestly, because this country is founded on, well, its core value is to keep the Black person uneducated, and to keep us in subjugation, whether it's mental, physical, regardless. So to me, to know that my ancestors fought for me just to have the right to read, how irresponsible would it be for me not to take that to the next level and to make strides in education in all different spaces. And I try to do my best to put myself in other people's shoes. So I'm a huge historian, where I'm really trying to understand why that person thinks that way. Even though I don't agree, I'm understanding why you think that way so that we can understand the game. Because to me personally, within this hegemony, it's all a game. Race is the best invention I think that they ever created.
Right.
And how do we play it? And how do we teach ourselves to play the game is really all it is. And we're always hunted. We're always looking to be suppressed. So it's really just trying to navigate through all of that while trying to, I guess, really take advantage of the freedoms that we currently have that our ancestors did not, and try to push the boundaries and move forward. And we're in an interesting time where it's really going to be, just a hearkening of all of that, where we're going to have to really take the next step and see where we can go, especially as things are going to start to tighten down on us.
I really like what you said. I want to be the tail to the kite of what you said. Education, the French word for education, our Latin word is educare, which means to bring forth. Unfortunately, in the culture we've been socialized and captured in, it's the blank tabula rosa model. Okay, you're nothing when you come to the classroom, and I'm going to put me in you. And if we don't have the right me's, it's not a fit. So a good friend of mine, Dr. Asa Hilliard, he once was doing an in-service to about 300, they just happened to be Caucasian female teachers. And he said, look, you need to know that when you walk in the classroom with our children, you can smile, you can do all that you do, but they come equipped with fake detectors.
Yes, they do.
And if you're not going to teach them about their self, they're going to withdraw.
Wholeheartedly agree with that. I did teach for America, which I know for a lot of people that's contentious. But for me, I had all the right intentions doing it. And we would have in-services where I am speaking with predominantly like white female and white male peers. And I would really push the bounds and boundaries to them to the point where a lot of the directors and leaders would pull me aside and say, well, no, you're scaring them off. I'm like, you can't go into a classroom and talk shop. You can't come into these children's world and not understand them and understand where they're coming from and be a part of their culture and want to be a part of what they're doing. Because they can read it. Because I was once a child and I had teachers that were not Black and I could read it. I could read it. right off the bat. So knowing me as a child, I'm like, you would get eaten up alive in that classroom. And it's just the truth. And it's like you genuinely need to love the population that
Right.
you are teaching. And if you don't love them, you're seeking to love and you're seeking to understand. You're not seeking to take power. And that's what I believe a lot of our white educators do. They come in to seek power over the children to,
Right.
yeah, you know.
I think they come in with judgment, right?
Oh, a lot of it.
They
Yes.
come in with judgment, which
Yes.
is that
Yes.
the colonizer mentality,
Right.
right? That
Right.
I'm bringing something to the poor, the
Right.
unfortunate, right?
Right.
But not through a lens that says everyone who shows up
Yeah.
brings something.
That's right.
Everyone who's there brings value.
Right.
Maybe different,
Mhm.
right?
right.
But that we can begin to become curious.
Yes.
And what I have noticed in education and academia for the 3,000 years I've been in it is we're losing that space of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
We are losing that. That
Yes.
people come with judgment.
Yes.
That I coined a term. Agin knows it. For school systems, I call them conformatoriums
Mm-hmm.
because they just want to shove you in, get you out, and then just get you into the world so you can be a cog.
Mm-hmm.
There was, because I remember I was a little kid and I was put in my mom was an English teacher. So like I said, so I had a lot of stuff that a lot of people didn't have. But I got to go to this place called the Discovery Center. And it was just an open room. Every kid, they just had stuff there, and you could just go and play. And if somebody, maybe a teacher or they weren't even teachers, they were just basically assistants, and they would come up and ask you, what do you think about this? And then you would have a conversation, and then they would just help you see things a little bit different way. The funny thing was about that was, go on a little sidebar, I got my SAG card at 5 years old doing that. What happened was,
That's great.
they were going to film, and they're like, everybody's getting paid $5. This is, I'm 5 years old, so that's a lot of money. And then, so I'm there with my mom, dad. It's just a parents in service and all that sort of stuff. And what happened was, I was doing something, all of a sudden I see this guy just sort of looking at me. I'm just like, well, whatever, that's interesting. And then he's like, son, who's your dad? I point to my father. Then he goes over to talk to my father, and then my father comes to me. He's like, Ralph, they want to focus on you, and they want to pay you a little bit of extra money. Do you want to do it? Sure, why not? It ended up being $1,500.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's amazing.
That's a lot.
And then after that, I got the money, and then they put it into a bank account for me. But my mom came up to me, and it was just weird. I'm 5, and she's my mom. Ralph, I'd like to get a down payment on a piano. Could I borrow $500 from you? Sure, Mom. Whatever. I'll pay you back. Okay. What's for dinner?
Exactly.
That's so precious.
True. That's an interesting term in the times in which we live, right? You're conformatory, right?
Oh,
Because the current
Critical.
administration seems to be clearly stepping forward
Oh, yeah.
and trying to create that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, in terms of all of our institutions of higher education, and it's very troubling. It's very troubling.
And how do we eradicate that? Shows like the Poetry of Justice show. Guest like you, Mr. Shaheed. Guest like you, Mr. Softly. And of course, guests like you, Miss Phillips. This is it. This is it. This is it. Straight real. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, let's do it. And we're doing it.
Yeah. I
We're
think
walking the walk and talking the talk.
we are. And I think one thing that I try to challenge people on is the concept of activism, because activism looks different in every way, in shape, or
Okay.
form. This in
Okay.
itself is activism.
Right.
Yes.
You know? And a lot of people think it's just, okay, maybe I need to be on the front lines here or there. Show up where you can.
Right.
Show up and do what you need to do. Have those conversations, push those boundaries. If we need to get out and fight, then that's what it'll come down to. However, I do think it's always important to challenge thought in a very conductive space. However, it's just really hard getting certain people in these spaces. So it's really just a blessing to have all the technology to push the activism, right?
Shout out to
huge,
the
huge.
Network Studios and to the amazing Kenyon.
Yes.
Yeah, Kenyan.
Yeah, Black Excellence, Black Brilliance.
Right.
Next level.
But I want to honor you, if you don't mind, in your age group. I have a granddaughter. She's with a program called the Black Male and Genius Initiative at USD in San Diego. And so they reach out, and it's about 20 or more schools, 6th grade. And children were nominated, for the potential of their excellence. And if they finish the program and learn about the culture, they'll get up to a free ride at USD in college.
That's outstanding.
But
That's
more
great.
and more youth, if you don't mind me labeling youth, I know you're a young woman, okay, but the youth, okay, I got a gray beard, okay, it's very important, and particularly, if you don't mind me doing a gender piece, uh, female, mother, woman. Woman means womb of mind, okay? You're the cradle for all of us, okay? You're the first teacher. And it's important for our children to see our women, if you don't mind the language, beyond the mothering role of feeding and diapering and these types of things, and a role like you and Ralph's mother as an educator, and everyone here educators, it's absolutely critical.
Oh, yeah.
Again, I'm going to quote the Nation of Islam.
Amen.
Elijah Muhammad went on to say, whatever's in the mind of the mother is in the mind of the child. So let's make sure that we honor and nurture the mothers.
Amen.
I wholeheartedly agree. Having, my mother and my aunt, godmother here in one space, and just harkening back on my childhood, I think it's extremely important for a child to feel comfortable in who they are, right? And no matter the space they're in. And these two women definitely provided that space for me. So I was like 6 watching Roots. Like,
6.
Yeah, no, they threw me right on in. And I just took liking to it. My mom is like, my dad's like, hey, there's no Santa Claus. I bought those gifts. Yeah, it was me. A black man bought this for you. I'm just letting you know right now. So we're just breaking down those barriers to the point where it's just an organic conversation where I'm questioning my teachers. I'm like, no, Rosa Parks was not the first person to do this. No, this was an active thing. She wasn't tired after work and sat down. Where you're pushing those boundaries. And I think, my aunt and mom did a great job of shaping that as well, right? Because you can get too far off the handle, which I almost got to a point where I'm just too off the handle. I'm just, a ball of fire. And being able to kind of understand to play the game. The biggest thing, unfortunately, I hate we have to play it, but we do. And we have to play significantly better than they do at all times. So I always think about it too. And once I did get to college, I'm like, wow, you are not a smart person in here at all. Like, you're just not smart. And I see how you got here. Somebody paid a lot of money for you to get into this institution. And, you're telling me I don't belong here, right? You're telling me I don't belong here based off of certain things. But it's like, that's interesting. So then you really get to see an in-depth, real intimate connection with how the country really works from a very, very, very deep level. And it allows you to just open up and see it.
Yeah.
And not necessarily, I guess, fall victim to what they want you to know, what they want you to be. It could be a mimicry of it, but I think everyone needs to be aware of what exactly they think of you when you show up in a space.
Well, similar to Thomas, Benjamin Franklin is reported to have said in front of Congress, it's expedient that we extinguish the light out of the mind of the Negro, lest we become like our brothers to the south, Mexico, a mulatto nation. So everybody's wanting to do all this extinguishing and raking out the rubble. And so the point is, we have to tell our own narrative.
Yes.
So, for example, we get all excited about the Great Wall of China. Well, who's going to talk about the Great Wall of Nigeria that was 9,000 miles longer than the Great Wall of China? Who's going to tell that story?
Literally. It's a concerted effort to keep all of that hidden.
But this is a brink. I'm excited. I'm on fire. I'm grateful to be in the likes of you all. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's just bewildering. But I don't know, Sissy. I was going to ask another deeper question. How we were talking about in our notes and stuff. When you think about Black brilliance and where we've come, just how critical is it for us to create an educational platform like you've been speaking about, Miko, where we are literally putting together programs for our children, not waiting for anyone else, and actually begin marketing and using the chamber and the legacy team and the educational team as, you know, just immediate that we know about different platforms between us right here, that we can start, especially with your new platform coming up, Lori, and begin to start putting these things into action. How we were thinking about with Wonderland Angels, right?
Yeah.
This academy in the city of Compton that focuses on Black brilliance, you know, like a Marcus Garvey concept. What are your thoughts on that, Lori and Mr. Shaheed?
Well, I'm thinking again because I'm going to talk a little bit about our family as well, Ralph. My great grandfather, James Nelson Irvin, was the co-founder of Jarvis Christian College in Hawkins, Texas, one of the 100 Black colleges. And at the time in the 1870s, he was in Tennessee. They were called normal schools. Interesting name. What kind of normality? But he was principal. So he spoke somewhere in Canada, and Civil War General Jarvis, his wife, heard him speak, and she wanted to do something for the colored people, okay, and so quote unquote. And so they offered him that if he would come to Hawkins, Texas, where is that? Okay, but they would give him 140,000 acres of land.
Oh, wow.
So he talked to his mother, and the mother said, and this is to the point, well, you have to take your destiny. I know you're comfortable here in this little normal school with the white folks and all of that, but you have a chance to build your own. So to the point, we have to build our own institutions, and let's don't play with it. A friend of ours, Dr. Norm Chambers, reminds us in the men's group we belong to that Black folks, among all the ethnicities, we have more colleges and institutions in the name of ethnicity than any group of people in America.
We do.
So we have a history and a legacy. We have to keep building. We have to keep building these institutions and legacies.
Man, Lori, I'm sorry. That's
No,
more
I was
than
just
a
going to
mouthful.
ask the panel. I agree with you. We have to keep building those legacies, right? We have to keep telling our stories, right? Because, you know, in comparison, the story of the Holocaust, you meet a child that's knee high to the table, right? And they can tell you what that means to them.
Right.
I don't know if we're pouring into our children and our race telling these legacy stories. What are your thoughts about that?
I have a lot of deep thoughts on this. Man, to me, and I get really irritated with people in my generation who are like, I'm tired of seeing a slave movie, or I'm tired of seeing a civil rights movie.
Right.
I'm like, you need to understand, we have to have these films in syndication at all times.
That's right.
And also, those are very watered down, just to be quite frank, right? We have to tell these stories. We need to get into it and talk about it all the time, because they will erase it. So it's a bit of shame that falls apart, I think, within Black people, where I'm like, well, I want to be distanced or removed from that. No, don't be distanced or removed. Be proud of that. You come from you come from a space and a place and an ancestry where that was made to kill them, and you survived
You
that.
survived it.
Yeah.
And you're still here, so let's move it to another level. And for those who come from the lineage of those involved in the Holocaust, they're talking about it. They're getting the work out. And it's also accepted by white America. Way more than our stories are. And we have to find a way to utilize today's technology to move the next point. Because for me, if you really look at technology and race and technology and moving into a new space, it's important, right? You got the printing press. Right after that, right, we're talking about lynching in the newspaper. We're talking about this. It creates activism. Television. Dr. King really utilized television very well. Oh, okay, I'm going to have all these children not come to school today, and we're going to pose them on TV and let that be seen around the world, right? Even like George Floyd with social media, Breonna, you know, all of the folks who have passed from, you know, police brutality, Rodney King with a video camera, and me working in educational technology. I want to learn everything I can to push those boundaries. Children learn in a different way, right? We're talking 2 minutes, they can't retain any information. We're talking about a quick TikTok on something like that. So that's the type of level of really understanding how technology impacts education these days. So for me, what I want to do is I want to be able to provide that space for children in I have to say like a digital world, right? Because we're not living in the tangible world these days. A lot of people are living in a,
Right.
right.
A whole
They're living in a
nother-
technological
So we're gonna
space.
do
So we need to
Sims, a new
we need to
Sim, a
embed
Mims.
ourselves there so they can reach that content, know it's the truth, have these forums and these conversations to push the boundaries.
Right.
Of course. No,
I definitely agree. I do.
yeah.
But what has been interesting to me, at least in higher ed, at my university, anytime these stories are to be told, my office gets a complaint because the content was triggering.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It was triggering,
Hmm.
and that
It's triggering.
is triggering,
Right.
right? Because I think what
Pretty
happens
much
is
like the
what
LAPD,
you indicate.
sorry.
You know, is that if it's triggering, then I can't tell that story, and if I don't tell that story,
Then,
I
lost.
lose that history.
Mhm.
Right? That story's lost.
Mhm.
You know?
Well, history is uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Yes, it is.
It's very uncomfortable. And if we're going to tell the quote unquote truth, I forget the gentleman's name, a Caucasian teacher. He wrote a book called The Lies My Teacher Told Me.
I remember that book.
Yes, okay. And it began within the mainstream white population that dominates the education system to really put a dent and unravel that. But one of our educators, and forgive me, I've got a block on his name, but he said, we already know all we need to know
Mhm.
to educate our children.
Mhm.
We have to admit the fact that we haven't done so far. So your point is well taken. What kind of education? What directionality of that education? What impact will it have on the mind? So very quickly, I was over a program called the African American Male Program in San Unified School District, and we went around the country looking for promising practices to work with our students. So I told our students and the other men, it was 4 of us, I said, we're not a monolith here. We're a bundle of maybe 90 or more subcultures, and all of them are black.
Mhm.
Every one of them are black. Nobody's blacker than black. Okay, and to be lack, we're all lacking in development. So anyway, a young man came to me, and he was really not doing well in mathematics. So I used the strategy, and I said, well, have you ever seen the pyramids? He said, oh, what's that? He had. So I showed him the pyramids. I said, people that look like you, he happened to be kind of ebony in color. I said, well, the people that built these were your color, Kemet Egyptians. I said, they built this. You have to have math to build that. And his eyes got big. Truth documented. 6 months later, he was getting A's and B's in math because he saw himself in the curriculum.
Representation.
Yeah, so I did an exhibit called Out of Africa Came Great Americans, and it's a sad story. I had kindergarten through 6. I had each classroom come and look at the exhibit. Out of 179 young men, K through 6, when I asked what they saw, I had them come individually one by one. They said things like, I see slaves. I see poor people. Now, some of those people were inventors and scientists, the great kings of Africa, Anheuser-Busch, but they saw slaves and poor people. One student said, oh, I see kings, so I'm going to be a king.
Amen.
But that was a sad testimony to what is it about the education that our children came away. And that was around 1989 at the time. So where are we today in terms of all of that?
Yeah, we're really in a dark space personally. But I have to say, for me specifically, like I'm like one generation right before things start getting really dark, in terms of really understanding these things. So doing the research to understand that people who are considered chattel, at that point, right, their property. That means their ideas are then the property of that owner. So look at Jack Daniels, right? A black man created
That's right.
that recipe, right? And how much work and fighting that family had to do to be seen and to be rightfully vindicated for what they deserve. Is that so? I just think doing the work and utilizing really important figures is important. I worked for a consultant firm, Black owned, and I thought it was important because he wanted to hire more Black engineers. And I'm like, well, to find that, it's hard in general, but if we're going to do this, we need to market ourselves in a certain way. So during Black History Month, I champion that we do once a week, we'll put out an instructional video on a Black engineer in this country to get the information out. Just so that people can understand that, right? Oh, a lot of Black children like video games, right? Oh, okay. Here's an individual who created the Atari, who is a Black man. You know what I mean? Just things like that to get down to the level. Seeking to find a person in that space to highlight and bring is extremely important, because you do seem to find a bit of, oh, I could do it too if they did that, which is important. And many studies have shown that when you show a child individuals that look like them doing something great, they become very emboldened and empowered. And that's why the media is made the way it is. There's a lot of just, certain images out there, and is meant to break or make certain populations.
Thank you, Miko.
I think that brings us to actually one of our questions, which is the question of legacy, right? And I think it's the question of how do we tell our stories to our families, and we show pride in that arc or in that journey, because everything is a legacy. And Agin, I know you have done extensive work in tracking your family and sharing that story. And why is legacy important to you?
Well, George Santa Anna is popularized the term. I'm sure he wasn't the only one to say it, but those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it over and over again. So it is extremely imperative that we preserve the legacy of the past of the generations that came before us, the struggles, the sacrifice, the accomplishments that have taken place. So yes, in our particular family, I was very, very lucky. We had a mantra. We had to learn to read by the age of 3. We had to learn to read by the age of 3. And at the time, I had already read in the 5th grade Nietzsche, Kant, Hegel, Schopenhauer, all the European stuff. Okay, that was, the language of the time. But fortunately, I had a mother like the 3 of you that led that type of excellence. So because I had this great-grandfather that helped start Jarvis Christian College, my grandfather, his son, was the first Black administrator in LA Unified School District. In 1933, he was put as supervisor, they called it, now be a superintendent of attendance. And his attendance was Black kids. They called them Negroes at that time. So he did that in LA Unified School District. And then I did the Pupil Advocate Program. And then my granddaughter is doing the Legacy Program at USD. But I started off with the genealogy. And unfortunately, when you say genealogy, a lot of our folks tend to want to shy from it because they've been fooled to believe that if you go past grandparents, you want to talk about slaves and stuff. I don't want to do 12 years a slave. I don't want to do that, okay? But as you said so aptly, it's important that we have the slave narratives and every kind of narrative. So fortunately, I got past that, and I did the genealogy, okay? And then I went into the histories of the family. And yes, I was culturalist. I wasn't interested in the white part. Most of us have Black, white, and Indian here, and I just wasn't interested in the white part, but mostly the Black and somewhat the Indian. But because of our short time period here, I mostly did Black. I finally got into the white, and so I'm really going to offer now. It's important if you do ancestry to actually want to learn about the white part of the family, because in their narratives, you'll get some history. So through one narrative, here's the history I'm going to describe. So I was able to find out that in 1848, this fifth great grandfather named Lloyd Ford, who was a white Revolutionary War, he had 10 white kids and 5 black kids from his enslaved mistress. Okay, and his daughter, her name was Rhoda. She was my fourth great grandmother. Said, "What you gonna do when you die? What's gonna happen to us? Because them 10 kids there, we ain't nothing to them."
Yeah.
Yeah, we ain't. I know you all nice and everything, and giving us this and that. So to make the story short, he wrote out a will and left 120 acres
Oh wow.
to all the black kids and nothing to the white kids,
Oh wow.
Wow.
and gave them their freedom. They went berserk.
I'm sure they did.
Okay, so it went to the Tennessee Supreme Court for about 8 years. They became destitute fighting these trials, the white population, and they lost. The abolitionists joined them, people joined them, and the white folks packed up their bags and left, okay, and scattered all over. Well, we had a reunion 4 or 5 years ago, and so the whites and the blacks came together after 100 and something years. 99% of the whites didn't even know none of this happened. Like, what? Huh? What? Okay, okay. But the black folks, we had heard these stories. Okay.
Yes.
So it is important then in alliances. First, we have to unite amongst ourselves. But if we get the right kind of alliances, okay. Wardi Muhammad introduced a term called grafted Caucasian white mentality. Okay, good Caucasian people minus the grafted white mentality. Okay, then we can do some some alliances here. So in the legacy of that, so I think that helped our particular family. We had that land. Okay, among the fortunate, and I'm saying now, many black families in America had those same stories because they haven't done the genealogy, because they don't want to deal with it. You're not finding out, okay? You're not finding out and missing out, okay? So, yeah, so Chase Bank, I'm putting it out. Somebody in that milieu found out about some black people kin to them and paid somebody $1 million, okay, to stop talking.
Morgan family.
So
No, thank
it could get lucrative even.
Right. It really can.
Yeah. So it's very, very, and as I end here, right now, I mean, we're at war. We need to take every kind of strategy, every kind of bullet, and I mean the mental bullet, the academic bullets, okay, to break down this war. So the alliances, us together, all of it. So that family legacy is very important. And then last, because you got the 2 books here, so we have Charles C. Flint. Okay, Charles C. Flint was my great grandfather, and that brings us to Los Angeles. So he came here in 1894 from the silver mines in Nevada. He's originally from Washington, D.C., won a class behind Booker T. Washington.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So when he came here, he had a few little coins in his pocket. We need to understand that in Los Angeles, at the end of the empire of America, expanding America, many of the blacks that came here had a few nickels in their pocket.
Yeah.
Saved nickels. Families that sacrificed and washed clothes for the white folks and all that, to give them that money. So in 1914 or 11, 30% of the black population owned their own homes here in Los Angeles. So we weren't necessarily behind. Charles C. Flint ran for city council in 1914 and had the black and white vote. So the black start here in L.A., we have to really want to go back and dig it up. Biddy Mason, okay, very, very important there to look, and I'm inviting us all, the listeners to the show, please do not run from your family legacies. Talk to Aunt so and so,
Right.
Grandma so and so, extended family, okay? Because we don't know what nuggets, are there, and our children need to hear this. It's just so very, very important. And then the last family member, I don't know if you have questions later, but Ernie Freeman. The book on Ernie Freeman, he's a cousin through marriage. Okay, he was married to a cousin. So his daughter, Janice, we talk every Monday. Okay, and she started telling me about her daddy. He was just Uncle Ernie to me. I didn't know he did all of this. Okay, and I didn't know they were the seventh black family to move in Baldwin Hills.
Oh, wow.
We just went to Baldwin
Sounds a great
Hills. I
number.
mean, it was a nice house and all of that. I grew up in Compton.
Right.
Okay, so I thought I was in Beverly Hills. Okay.
The Black Family Hills.
Yeah, the Black Beverly Hills. I said, they got money. Okay, but
It's
anyway, so Ernie Freeman, okay, I'm going to announce that he is the forerunner and the companion to Quincy Jones. Before there was a Quincy Jones, there was Ernie Freeman. Okay, Ernie Freeman has 120 gold records,
Wow.
50 gold albums.
Wow.
Okay, there's nobody he didn't work with. Diane Carroll, Dinah Washington,
Frank
Frank
Sinatra,
Sinatra.
Dorothy
Supreme.
Dandridge.
Go ahead, run down the list.
Right.
Yeah. No,
Dean
any-
Martin.
Dean Martin.
Frank
Yeah.
Sinatra.
No.
Look, Frank Sinatra. Right now,
Well, if
the
you
Rat
like,
Pack, the entire Rat
Strangers
Pack.
in the Night,
Right.
he
Yeah.
got the Grammy for that.
He
Oh,
did.
wow.
Can you believe
Yeah,
that?
if you
Wow.
like Bridge Over Troubled Water, Simon and Garfunkel,
Wow.
he got a Grammy for that.
Isn't
Isn't that beautiful?
yes.
Wasn't he president of Reprise at one time?
Yes, he
So
was.
then he would
yes,
have
Frank
had to work with
Sinatra.
Jimi Hendrix as well.
Yes, Frank Sinatra. He was the first
Incredible.
black with Reprise Records when Frank Sinatra took this up from Capitol Records. And yeah, he worked with Jimi Hendrix, Duke Ellington, who's Red Fox?
Oh,
Okay.
And Lou Rawls.
And Lou Rawls. Yeah. Yeah. So they obviously have looked.
I read it.
They looked into the book.
I have a question.
Yes.
Before we lose,
No,
I
but
have
just
to ask
before they
you.
do, I want to
Okay,
give credit where credit's due. You're sitting over here next to a music expert.
Oh, wow.
No,
Oh, wow.
we were riding to L.A.
Oh, me.
That's how we got the title, the musical blueprint.
Uh-huh.
It came from Ralph.
Oh, wow.
He said,
Ah.
"Oh, Bo, he the blueprint." Okay, and then from
Amen.
that, it spurred me to go on
Look into it.
and write this book. But go ahead,
Right.
I just was going to ask, what color was the trunk?
black.
I just wanted to
No,
know.
no. It was black.
Did you get it?
was black.
I do.
Yeah, she's
That's
talking
where all
about.
the secrets are held.
Yes.
That's where the book kind of
Could you
rose up out of,
imagine
Yeah.
when
right?
you did
My
that
mother
for your
had a
mom?
trunk that belonged to my grandfather, who graduated from USC
Side on.
in 1931.
There we go.
Okay, and in that trunk, my mother, and I'm ashamed to say, for years, my mother said, "Will you help me go through this trunk?" And I remembered that trunk. I said, "That's a lot of work." And I was busy and everything. But finally, on a winter holiday from the school district, I went and stayed 2 weeks to get this thing over with. But then when we went into the trunk, to my surprise, came Los Angeles history.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
That's amazing.
I'm so glad you.
Unbelievable. But we got another person over here that's got a family history. Why don't y'all ask him a question?
Absolutely.
Mr. Softly.
Legacy, the importance
legacy.
of that.
Oh well, my father went to Texas Southern University.
Okay.
Met my mother there, and this was like in the 50s and early 60s. He applied for the University of Texas, but they weren't going to admit him because he went to it might not be true. I'm just going to say what they told me. But they didn't want to admit him because of where he went to school and who he was. So he had to go to the University of Iowa, and that's where he got his PhD. And when he did that, I think he finished up in 1970. So I was a little kid at the point. And we just began to move. I was born in Iowa, moved all over the country. But each time, when we moved to Maryland, he was teaching at Howard University.
Oh, okay.
And at that point, we moved into Columbia, Maryland. And like I said, a lot of my friends, like pro basketball players, We were Casey Jones, who's passed on, but he was a coach of the Washington Bullets at the time. So these are the neighbors. These are the people I'm growing up with. So I just had because I was talking with him, and then I just said, my growing up isn't normal. He's like, no, it's not, because it was just what I knew. It was just what we did.
Yeah.
It's normal to you.
But he ended up leaving Howard University, got back in the private sector. He went to work for Nabisco, where he became a flavor chemist. He has a lot of patents for.
Amazing.
Quick question. I'm going to tell it anyway. Wait a second. And to anybody who might be listening, this is merely for conversational purposes only. I'm not saying it's true or not. It's just a conversation. One time.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
One time, I'm in high school. He's like, hey, son, you want to go to Maryland? Because that's where we used to live. I'm like, yeah, sure. What are we going up there for? He's like, we got a problem with the Baby Ruth building. Baby Ruth candy bars.
Oh.
So we go up there, and I'm just talking. I'm like, well, what's going on? Well, he said, well, the building is paid for, but we're having a little problem because there's a lot of pigeon feces on the top of the
At the chocolate factory.
on the top of the roof. And when it rains, it's dripping through
Oh, wow.
onto the conveyor belt. So
It's a
That's
little
the
problem.
special
Just a little
ingredient.
problem.
Yeah.
That's a little special ingredient. That's all. Special
so
ingredient.
he meets the guy up there, and they talk, and next thing you know, he's like, yeah, we're fine. I'm like, okay, we're fine. What does that mean, Dad? He's like, yeah, we just basically have to clean them off, and I have to come up with a chemical to make them taste the same, but we're good. I'm just like,
Wow.
nice.
That's cool.
So at that point, I was like, people will do anything for profit, Dad, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, son.
Everything for
Isn't
profit.
that cool?
And so I heard some more stories. I won't get into them, but it's just so interesting. Because I remember another time the peanut crop went bad, and once again FDA, yeah, you're good. Just make sure you make them taste the same. So he had to come up with a special formula to make them taste the same. So that was my father. He was just like, he was ahead of he was a
Innovative.
very, 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 very smart man. Miss him dearly. But
That's
yeah.
amazing.
But that was a family legacy because his mother, my grandmother, had a 6th grade education, and his father, my grandfather, had a 3rd grade education. And, so they were just working. They worked at their and here in Texas, he worked for the railroad. Then he became an entrepreneur and opened his own barbershop. Wow. But they kept asking him, boy, you've been in school a long time. When you gonna be done? I'm almost done. Boy, you done yet? You've been in school. So finally he finished. He said, Dad, I got my doctorate. Oh, what do we call you? Doc? No, just call me Billy like you always have.
So cool.
Absolutely. That is way cool.
Yeah, and then of course my mother, I always have to thank her because I remember when I was a little kid and we lived in Missouri, there was we were in elementary school, there was 600 kids there, and there was 2 black children, me and my brother. That was it. And then the next year it jumped up 200% because there was 4 black people there.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Yeah. No,
But
yeah.
I would come home and say, hey, I learned about Ferdinand Magellan. She's like, are you learning about any black people? I was like, no. So she simply said, okay, every weekend from here on out, when I go to work at the library in Kansas City, you're coming with us and you're going to read about black people. So she was the one who put me on that path to read. Then as I began to read, I just began to read so many other things, just because it just opened up my mind to be, because now I just read all the time. I cannot not read.
Right.
Yeah, but that was because of my mother.
That's how you guys are.
That is amazing. It is.
Yeah, so just
So, at the POJ show, we always try to, provide inspiration. We believe that there's someone who's watching our show who wants to begin to create a legacy story, who wants to begin to start that journey along their genealogy.
Yes.
What would be the advice you would give to someone who's watching as to how do they take that first step, right? What's that first action item?
Well, I'm a member of the African American Genealogical Society in San Diego. And what we always say to people is, again, I said it briefly, but a little bit more. Start talking with your mother and father. Squeeze it out of them if they don't want to talk about it, because sometimes they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay? Your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, your extended family. Okay? And start doing that. And then join the different 21andMe, Ancestry.com. I mean, the work has been done. We don't have to reinvent all this stuff.
Right.
Okay, the work has been done. Okay, and for example, when I did my DNA, okay, I had like 80 pages. And that's anybody. You're
Yeah.
gonna get pages of people, and I'm looking at all these names. I'm like, who are these people? So I said, eeny, meeny, miny. No, I swear.
Yes,
No.
pick this guy.
I said, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I said, she sound like she black. Her name was Rose Tate. She was black. Because, most black people don't do genealogy. So I assumed that they was the other folks, the white folks and all of that, of our relatives. So she was. And because of that, I hit the jackpot. She said, I've been doing genealogy for 20-something years. Wow. So why am I giving that example? Start the ball rolling. You don't know who might join you, like Rose did. And even though my mother was the family historian, I came back and began to share things with my mother started. She didn't know half of what I learned by going into genealogy and talking to other family members. Like we have the Ford family, and she said, well, I don't know how Felicia and them is kin to us. Felicia and them. It's kin to, but they just kin. Well, I found out how they was kin to us.
There we go.
Okay, and it was from that family I told you, that Civil War, that Revolutionary War guy. That's how they're kin to us.
Wow.
So that's one answer. That's one answer.
Absolutely.
I'll piggyback off that because I remember when I was younger, one of my aunts said, you should be the family genealogist. I was like, oh, that's nice. No.
Like, thank you, but no, thank you.
And it's just sort of, there's a saying that I say sometimes people often find themselves on the roads they take to avoid them. So, come back. Now it's like, yeah, she was right. And then I talked with some of the other family members on the flower side of my family. But for the longest time, I was really connected with my mom's side of the family. My dad's side of the family, not so much. And it just sort of, it was just the way it was. And then one day I said, I just can't have, because they're beginning to, my father was first to pass away. He had 5 brothers, 1 sister, and then they began to just, I was like, pretty soon they're all going to be gone. And once that happens, it's just gone with them. So there was 2 left, my aunt, the one who told me to be a genealogist, and my uncle, my dad's immediate older brother, my Uncle Robert. And I called them both up and I asked can I call you every Wednesday just to talk for a little bit? We can talk about anything, but I just want to find out about my dad. He's my dad, but to you, he's your brother. So you're going to see him in a totally different vein than I ever would. And she said no. I was like, okay, that's fine. No biggie, no harm, no foul. We'll still text. But he said yes. And so for the last 3 to 4 years, we've just been talking every Wednesday. We don't talk about my dad much anymore. We just talk because we've had that connection again. But it was just nice to reach out. And like I said, I don't know much. I don't know how many more seasons he has, but at least we have this, to talk. Yeah. And that's what I would say, reach out to the immediate family. It's so important.
And then briefly, although it still is popular with us as black folk, family reunions, keep it up. Keep it up, because that's the time that Aunt so-and-so, who don't like be around anyway because she's into her own little thing. But for the family reunion, she'll come and she'll start talking. So keep those family reunions up, I would also offer.
Have to tell this story. We just talked about it in the car.
We did.
Family reunions.
Okay.
But what about when you have a family feud, planning the
Okay.
family
Oh,
reunion?
yes.
That's
Oh, yes.
That's the predicament we're in
Yes,
right now. But
yes.
family reunions are very important, huh, Sissy?
They are. I got removed from the committee.
Okay.
You fought the good fight.
I was the silent member. I mean, I think what happened in our family is that there was a divide.
Yeah, that's what
Right,
happened.
there was
That's
one
what
crew which was
That's what
which was
happened.
led
Right.
by a matriarch,
Right.
and then there was another crew
Mm-hmm.
which was led by an opposing matriarch.
Right.
Right.
And so I got excommunicated based on
Your
my
lineages.
matriarch.
My matriarch lineage.
But I'm going to the reunion regardless.
Okay,
Right.
that's important.
Regardless.
That's
because it
important,
is very important.
Yes.
And we always usually go, but we go. I just always go back to just seeing my great grandmothers record of birth, and it's just how important it was. We haven't gone that far, Lori, on mommy. Well, yeah, we are now.
We are now.
Talking to
Miko's
my
our
auntie Helen.
genealogist.
And then Helen. We speak
She's
to my
following it all the way back.
94-year-old auntie, all the time. It's like so you kind of got to pull it out of her.
Mm-hmm.
But she gives it. She gives it.
Yeah.
She gives it. She gives it. Because she used to, I put it this way, one of the other family members went through this whole phase of that they were writing a book and they were going to speak to her and try to get all this intel from her. And so, family word was that she was on lockdown. So, like blah, blah, blah. But me and her have a relationship, and every time we speak, which is about every week or two, she's telling me this and giving me this story. So I'm like, write it down, guys. We got to write it down. And I'm like, is it okay if I bring my tape recorder on my phone?
Very good.
She says, right, because I know me
good.
in this. So I'm like, can I? And she's like, yeah. So she's coming on the show. I even talked her into it. So she's going to come on the show. And she's going to be a part of the panel on legacy. But she's 94 years young.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so excited.
And a Spitfire still.
It sure is.
Completely lives alone.
She does.
Still does everything. She has we all know him, the loving Mr. Tony Hicks. God bless him. He takes her around to where she needs to go. But anyway, legacy is everything.
And then one last thing, because I alluded to it, but I'm going to go a little deeper with the story. So one side of my family is the Robinson family, okay, which we only knew one. It was 4 siblings. We only knew Sarah Robinson. So this cousin that I told you about, Rose Taylor, happened to get some information from one of the white family members. Again, I wouldn't have done it at the time. I'm going to openly admit I didn't want to. I really didn't want to. I didn't want to talk to the white folks. I just had that situation. Okay, now I wasn't just talking about the black folks. Okay, so anyway, she got in touch with him and he said, look, I can't do anything about the fact, but yes, my grandfather was a plantation owner. He had enslaved Africans. He said, but I thought you'd want to know, I have all their books on who was enslaved. And from those books that we never would have had access to.
Wow.
And no reunion.
Right.
Ain't so-and-so or nobody.
None of that.
So I found out when Sarah Robinson was born in 1795.
Wow.
I found out when she was freed in 1805.
Wow.
Okay, I found out where in Tennessee, if you became freed, okay, if you became free, they didn't want you to infect the other enslaved Africans. So you had to go work for the white folks and earn money and pay your passage to Liberia. Pay your passage to Liberia. So when she found out about the other family I talked about, the Fords, okay, she did her research and she was able to strike for her freedom. And unfortunately, in 1851, because her white sister, she lived on her half-white sister's plantation, okay? So she still was practically enslaved, free or not, because you couldn't be free until you were 21 if you were female and 26 male, okay, if you were freed. When she finally lived her freedom, she was free for 1 year. Her son, who's my great-great-great-grandfather, was on his way as another free to being sent to Liberia, and because they changed the rules, missed it by 1 day, and that's why I'm sitting here.
Right.
Because they'd gone to Liberia, I wouldn't be here.
Now you would.
So, but we wouldn't know these stories unless we do that. And it's important to just know our stories. And the last thing I want to say, because it's important to the listening audience, it's somewhere around, each person in here has about 4,280 great-grandparents, I think to the 11th century, if you could but do the research.
Wow.
If you could but do the research. I can go back to the 10th century.
Okay.
Wow.
No, very, very fortunate.
Wow.
But if you have 4,280, each of those people are important. Everybody is important. If one person in that 4,280 didn't participate in insemination, we wouldn't be here.
That's true.
Just
Just
one.
one.
Just one.
So don't do like me and say, I don't want to learn about the white folks. Because what's going to happen, you're going to find out, you're like, I didn't know I had Filipino. Okay, this or that. But the good news now on the African side, research is being done now enough that we can start. So I know that I'm 29% Nigerian. Okay, I know that I'm 11% Benin. I know I'm 4% Mali. I mean, we can do these now, so it's coming. It's coming, but it's a large subject. I'll stop there.
Yeah, no, it's great.
This has been an incredible conversation.
Certainly
It
has.
has, definitely. Well, we thank all of you for joining us and talking about this very important conversation about Black brilliance. And we challenge our listeners to celebrate your legacy. I think what we've learned today is nothing is too small. Just your mere existence of being here is a story that needs to be told, shared, and celebrated. And we'd like to invite each of you to come back and join us and continue
Definitely.
this
No,
conversation.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone.